Hello and welcome back to the Upgrade Your Education Business podcast. If you're new here, I'm Sumantha and I help private tutors and education business owners build a business that really works for them. Together, we inject life into your definition of success. Now, today, we're diving into something that's really close to my heart and it's really important. The business skills that we all need beyond teaching or delivering whatever it is we deliver. Because let's be honest, being a brilliant tutor isn't enough to run a thriving tutoring business. You can be the most engaging, results driven tutor in the world, but if you're overwhelmed, undercharging, or spending hours stuck in admin quicksand, your business can feel heavy. And I know that most of us didn't sign up for that. So, this episode is going to help lighten that load. I'll walk you through some of the key business skills that can make things much smoother, more professional, and more sustainable without making your head spin. So, let's get started. Welcome to the Upgrade Your Education Business podcast. I'm your host, Sumantha, and I'm so pleased you're here. As an education business owner myself and a former teacher, I understand the nuances that only apply to us. So in this podcast, I share fluff-free, tailored and actionable ideas that you can mould to suit your needs. If you'd like to take this conversation further, please do reach out. I would love to meet you. And finally, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review. That way, you'll be helping me help more people. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy. If you struggle with juggling all the things you're meant to be doing outside of teaching time, if you have a tendency to overthink when it comes to things like pricing, marketing, and so on, and if you could really do with some support on handling difficult conversations, then you're in the right place. You see, whether you're an independent tutor or you hire tutors or you have a different kind of education business, the reality is we all have to do things outside of delivering what we offer, and we all come across challenging situations. It really helps when you have a supportive community around you. And something I really love about the Tutors Mastermind, my business membership, especially for tutors, is how open and honest everyone is and how they form accountability groups and they get into partners just to really help each other succeed. So if you're in the mastermind, this episode will help because I've actually used your challenges, the ones that you have expressed in the community, as inspiration. And of course, if you aren't a masterminder, you can get instant access by heading to tutorsmastermind.com. That's tutorsmastermind.com. Right, let's dive into zooming into some of the core skills that we need outside of teaching or delivering whatever we deliver. The first is time management and organization. How to not feel glued to your laptop at 10 o'clock at night. So many tutors I speak to in the mastermind, outside of it, say that one of their biggest challenges is time. We're time poor, and it's not quite a lack of time because we all have 24 hours, but managing them in a way that gives them headspace, because while we do have 24 hours, we don't all have the same 24 hours. So you might be juggling tutoring, admin, marketing, replying to messages, and let's not even talk about when it's time to do our self-assessments. Not to mention doing all of that while doing personal stuff and having a life. So, on this topic, I want to share 3 things that massively help me. The first is time blocking. I allocate time for business tasks, just like I do for lessons and client commitments. I commit to these as though they really are client sessions. However, if they need to be tweaked, then I do that too. What I do is I keep an eye on my diary on a daily basis and I look at how the next couple of days are looking and what I think is doable for me. And that part's really important. Instead of just having a long to-do list, which I used to do, the game changer was committing to just a couple of things or even just one thing, depending on what the day's looking like. Also, I have admin days. Now, I call them admin days, but it could be half a day, it could be a couple of hours, and that's where I batch admin together. So it might be sorting out or updating invoices, sending emails, whatever it might be, creating social media content. I do it in that time block. And I find this really helps because I'm really in the zone. I'm not kind of flicking from one task to another. And it really helps prevent that overwhelm. And when you couple it with systems and processes, then you can make it quite streamlined. I have past episodes on this, so if you scroll back, you'll get a few ideas of how you can streamline. Now, on that subject, systems are really important. So whether it's a booking system, automated payments, or even using email templates, systems save time and decision fatigue. Now, here's a quick win. A really good idea is to audit where your time goes this week. I use an app to do this called Toggle, and it's really eye-opening because this is often the first step to reclaiming some of those hours back. Right, on to my second topic, which is pricing and money confidence. Pricing is often the elephant in the room. Am I charging too much, too little? But here's the truth. Being great at what you do doesn't automatically mean that you'll feel confident charging what your work is worth. Now, this might help. This is a conversation I often have with clients and I've had with myself. You're not just charging for your time. You're charging for your experience, your prep time, your ongoing CPD, your admin, your resources, the whole package. I regularly revisit pricing and I encourage my clients to as well, but not just the numbers, the mindset behind it. But having said that, looking at the numbers is really important. For instance, I have a sales strategy spreadsheet, and this includes very informed targets. If you're in the mastermind, if you're a client of mine, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you missed it, then go to the sales sprint in the Tutors Mastermind Facebook group, and I've uploaded it in the training area as well. And you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll be able to create this document yourself. Now, this is something I really rely on because those targets are broken down by what I offer, but I also have this kind of monthly headline figure. Now, at the time of recording this, it's exam season for many of us. I'm a GCSE tutor and we're in that exam season. And a trend I've noticed in the mastermind is that this is the time when many people leave. Not many, but GCSE tutors sometimes dip out. Now, it always picks up, it happens every year, but does that make it easier? Not really. So recently I was feeling a little down, and when I do, I go back to those numbers because the fact is that my feelings aren't tangible, whereas the numbers are. And just by looking at that, despite the fact that I've had a couple of people leave recently or pause, I've actually exceeded my sales target for this month threefold. So the point here is that numbers and mindset are separate on the one hand, but they also work hand in hand. So if you want a really solid kind of pricing strategy, I'll tell you a good place to start. Know your numbers. What do you need to earn? How many hours do you want to work? And factor in things like your unpaid time. So price for sustainability instead of comparison. Think about what you want to communicate as well and who do you want to attract, and interrogate your pricing to make sure that it's really aligned. Pricing is a communication tool. Now for my third topic, boundaries. This is really the secret sauce to avoiding things like burnout, or at least minimizing them. Boundaries aren't about being rigid. They're about creating breathing space. They're about protecting your energy. They're about making sure that you surround yourself with people who you want to mirror, who lift you up. And on a really practical level, boundaries in our business help us with financial stability without feeling drained. Some of these kinds of boundaries that I help tutors put into place, and I do for myself, are things like very clear working hours and sticking to them, charging for things like missed sessions with a cancellation policy, obviously sitting behind that, and importantly, one that you feel confident to enforce, saying no to requests that simply don't align or they don't really fit with your schedule, your desired schedule. Now, one of the masterminders shared that having an out of office message outside of her working hours really changed how her clients interacted with her, and more importantly, how she felt about her business. So if boundaries make you feel mean or too businessy, then just remember this. Boundaries are there to protect your business so you can keep doing this, doing what you love long term. Now, on to my fourth topic, and that is handling difficult conversations. Every business owner, every tutor will at some point face an awkward conversation. It might be a parent questioning your price rise, for instance, or a student who's consistently late, or a client who's expecting more than you agreed. Now, this is where your communication and confidence skills really come in. Difficult conversations never become easy, but we can make them easier. So, some of my top tips are to have policies like your terms and conditions in writing. That way, it's not you making a decision, it's the policy that you both agreed to. And keep emotion out of that conversation. Use calm, clear language and refer to those terms. And really importantly, practice. Have some stock phrases in your back pocket, like, "This falls out of the scope we agreed." And remember that you can be warm and firm, you can be kind and clear. You don't have to choose. And honestly, you won't always get it right. We're human. Or maybe you will get it right, but people may get upset. It's really important to give yourself permission to be human and not to feel guilty for putting yourself first. Now, on to my fifth topic, which is marketing and visibility. Being able to communicate the value of what you offer really is a skill. So, whether it's through social media, your website, networking, or good old fashioned word of mouth, you need to make sure that people can find you and they understand why should they choose you. Now, this doesn't mean posting daily on 5 different platforms. It means really knowing your audience and choosing 1 or 2 places that they hang out and are in a consumer mindset and showing up consistently. For example, one tutor in the mastermind started using Facebook just to showcase her specialist approach to helping anxious learners. It wasn't salesy, but she actually booked out her schedule in 6 weeks. She had a few slots and she managed to fill them just by positioning herself really, really clearly. Now, that being said, please don't be afraid to sell. If you don't sell, you don't get customers. And if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. But selling, as you know, doesn't have to be pushy. I mean, if you've been listening to this for a while, if you've worked with me, you know that I teach non-pushy sales, relationship-based sales. So it's something you can do really comfortably. Also, selling doesn't mean that you can't be yourself. You can also get really nice and creative. You don't have to shout. You just need to be seen and to show up with clarity. So I think that, when we're educators, when we're working in this space, we sometimes forget we're also a business owner, or we don't really know what that means. So let's wrap this up with a little mindset reminder. Running a tutoring business, whether you're an independent tutor, whether you hire tutors or whatever, it's not a less serious version of running a business. It is a business. So forget about whether you're a limited company or a sole trader. We're not getting hung up on labels here. We are prioritizing what we need to keep making money by doing something we love. And when you embrace these extra skills, time management, pricing, boundaries, communication, and marketing, you start to feel more in control. You start to feel like a business owner because you are. And if you want to strengthen these skills in a supportive community, then you know where I am, you know about the Tutors Mastermind, and you can follow the link in the show notes to have a look at what it's about if you haven't come across it yet. I'd be delighted to welcome you in. You can just head over to tutorsmastermind.com. There's training in there for actually every aspect that I've mentioned today and a lot more. So thank you, as always, for joining me. If you have a quick moment, please do leave a review and you'll hear from me on Wednesday. Would you like to take this discussion further? Perhaps you have some questions or you'd like more ideas on tailoring your business. If so, book a free discovery call through the link in the show notes.